Hey everyone, this is Kevin from thechesswebsite.com, and today we're going to be going over my favorite trap in the Ponziani opening. Ponziani starts out with e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, and then pawn to c3. This is the Ponziani preparing for d4. This pawn on c3, really just another pawn to support this central push from white, trying to control that center of the board. Knight to f6, pretty common from black here, and then d4. Now, black has a lot of options here, but we're going to be specifically looking at if the knight takes here on e4. This is a pawn that's unprotected. Makes a lot of sense for black to go ahead and take that. It's not really a terrible move here, but white's just going to keep pushing up the board here. This pawn on e5, it's only protected by the knight on c6, so you always want to attack pieces that are defending other squares, and this e5 square we want to be taking with our knight here. So attacking this knight, and there's not a lot of great squares for this knight to go to. If it wants to come back to b8, well, now black's moved the knight here and then back, so really down in tempo there. So that's not something you're going to see too often. A5 is really a terrible move because after b4, then the knight's going to fall. There's no squares that it can go to safely. And so really you're going to be looking at knight to e7, but this really blocks off a lot of the squares that black wants to go to. Get the dark square bishop involved into the game, get the queen involved into the game, and now white can just take here on e5. And now black really needs to move this knight, because if they try to play something like d6, which opens up for the light square bishop, attacking the knight, this is going to be a mistake, because bishop to b5 check, pawn to c6, there's capture here, knight takes here on c6, attacking the queen. Queen comes out, let's say, to b6, but then knight to d4. This is a discovered check here from this bishop. And this is in a pretty tough spot. You could see either the king move here to d8, and then white castles on the king side. White is up in material. Black's king is over here. It can't castle. It's going to be attacked the rest of the game. Even if the bishop just comes here to d7. Hey, just go ahead and exchange right here. Same concept as before. White should have a pretty good game from here. So you're usually not going to see the pawn come to d6, because that would be a mistake. Many times you'll just see knight to g6, and this is where we're going to lay our trap, because the knight comes here to a logical square. If the knight takes it, hey, it's defended by both of these pawns. This opens up for the queen and the bishop to get involved into the game. But now we're going to be playing and setting our trap, and that is bishop to d3. Now, from black's standpoint, it may look like white's just trying to exchange some minor pieces. It already is kind of an awkward opening right away. So they may say, yeah, queen to e7, and then if you want to go ahead and take our knight here on e4, we'll go ahead and exchange. Take our knight here, or if we want to take with our queen, they have some options. Both sides are equal in material. Everything is good. So many times, if that's what black thinks, they may look for another option. And so they may find the move, which isn't hard to find here, because anytime a knight on e4 or g4 arise, then many times they're looking for the move knight takes on f2. And they may see that, okay, they take a pawn here, and after the king captures, then knight takes on e5. Black is up a pawn in material, and this king is completely exposed. Black can attack this the rest of the game. It's going to be very difficult for white to continue, but that's exactly what we want black to do. Take this pawn here on f2 and feel really good about themselves, because we're going to be taking with our bishop here on g6. Now, in this position, they should just really take our bishop. I mean, they could also, if they wanted to get their bishop involved, maybe bishop here to c5 is a reasonable move. But they may look at this and say, what is going on here? Are you just going to give me your queen? Absolutely. We're just going to give you our queen, because after knight takes here on d1, again, they have fallen for the trap. We can just play bishop takes here on f7, check. King comes to e7, we play bishop to g5, and now it's time to get more and more material involved into the action, because we are not done with our attack quite yet. King comes here to d6, and we play knight to c4, and you can see all these squares are off limits. Can't come to e7 because of the bishop. Can't come to e6 because of the pawn and the bishop. Can't come here to e5 because of the knight here. Can't take this pawn on d5 because of the bishop. Can't come to c6 because the pawn has to come here to c5. Now, white can play the move knight to a3. Yes, you can go ahead and take the queen if you want to. You're going to win the game in this situation, but you can also play knight to a3. And the reason you can do that is you're still going to win the queen. Like, there's no way for them to protect themselves. Like, they can't just take with their queen here on g5, because then we just play pawn to b4 checkmate. They can't just take that pawn. If they may look at it and say, okay, well, pawn to b4 is going to be checkmate. Well, let's just go ahead and take with their knight here on a b2. Well, then we just play bishop to e3, and that's checkmate. They could also look at that pawn to b4 and say, okay, well, let's try pawn to a5, and then we just take their queen here on d8. We're preparing to just take pawn here on c7 to start gobbling up material here. Things are not looking any better as their king is completely in the center of the board. This knight here on c4 is protected by this knight. This pawn still protected by the bishop up here on f7. We can easily start to gobble up material, come here to b6. That square is defended by our knight here. There's just no real good squares for them to come to, even if they want to gobble up some other material. Let's say knight takes here on c3. Yes, we could take that knight, but another position where you could say, okay, if I don't find another great move, well, I can just go ahead and take this queen here on d8, and you're going to be completely fine. So that is the flagship trap. What I really like about this is even if they don't take the trap, because sometimes you try to lay a trap and your opponent doesn't take it and you're like, oh my goodness, I'm in a really terrible spot. What's nice about this is even if they don't take it, you're not in a terrible spot. Like, they could easily not take here on f2 and they just take on e5, and then you take their knight here on e4. Maybe they play bishop to c5. You castle on the king side. You're equal in material. You have nice central pawn here. Your bishop's involved into the game. You've already castled on the king side. So this is why this is my favorite trap in the Ponziani, because I think it'll come up more than you may think, and you're still in a really good position even if they don't fall for the trap. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully you want to see more trap videos, because I do have some really good ones I want to share with you guys. So let me know in the comments below if you want to see more of these, or if there's other type of videos like openings. I know a lot of people like to see those as well. But let me know what you guys think. Thanks again so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.